Over the last few years, I've started to realize that many of our problems, from our personal problems to our community and global problems, stem from our inability to recognize that our stories or beliefs may be incomplete. Or in other words, we tend to think we're right, whether or not we actually are. And I'll give you an example from my own life. So when I was a young dude, around 10 years old, I overheard my mom telling my dad that she wasn't pregnant, and they both seemed to be relieved. And I immediately became very concerned because at this point in my life, I believed that the only moral and plausible reason to engage in such activities was to make a baby. And I began accusingly questioning my mom what was going on, and eventually she had to explain to me that it was a normal and healthy way for parents to express their love in this way. But when I heard this, I just went bonkers. I couldn't take it, and I was convinced they had done something terrible. And I even remember feeling so betrayed, I thought I had to do something to bring justice upon them. So I went and I found their wallets, and I took out all the money, and I hid it in order to punish them. So it's obvious that my beliefs about this issue were very inaccurate, yet I was convinced I was right. And this is just one illustration of the fact that we all have stories or a set of beliefs to make sense of the world. And these beliefs are shaped by the families we grow up in, the people we interact with, our environments, and our experiences. These beliefs shape how we see the world and essentially who we are. Now, the catch is, as social scientists have carefully researched, we're very prone to forming faulty beliefs. And there are many reasons for this, but one explanation is that in order to survive in a challenging world, we've evolved with the ability to simplify our complex reality into manageable categories to make navigating our lives easier. But when we encounter new people or places or threats or even ideas, we can use these simplified belief systems to evaluate them. These simplified belief systems are often called biases, and social scientists have identified many biases, but I'm going to talk about just two of them. So the first one is often called the mother of all biases because all other biases stem from this one, and it's called the confirmation bias. And this is basically our tendency to first form our beliefs, and then after we form our beliefs, we seek for evidence to validate them and back them up. And if we encounter anything which contradicts our beliefs, we tend to ignore it altogether or rationalize it away. And the second one is called the blind spot bias. And this is our tendency to be able to see faults in other people's thinking and behaviors, but we're unwilling to see them in ourselves. And so it's easy to see that these are very illogical ways to form beliefs, yet we all engage in them. And in a recent experiment, researchers took people and hooked them up to brain scanners, and these people self-identified as either Republicans or Democrats, and they had them evaluate clips of Democratic or Republican presidential candidates. And in both clips, both candidates clearly contradicted themselves. And not surprisingly, when the people viewed the opposing candidate's clip, they were very critical of what they said, and they used the reasoning part of their brain to do so. Yet when they viewed their own party's candidate, they stopped using the reasoning part of their brain, and essentially what happened is they used their emotions to justify their own candidate and their own beliefs. And I think there are a myriad of other problems which arise from our biased beliefs, and these range from our relationship problems, when we're unwilling to recognize how we contribute to a problem, to dysfunctional organizational cultures, to larger systemic problems like protracted conflicts, racism, sexism, and other broken systems that continue to perpetuate. So if we're going to make real progress in creating solutions to such problems, I suggest the following. First, we need to be aware that I only have one story, and my story may be incomplete. This realization can open us up to considering different sides of the story. And I don't think this means that we can't have foundational guiding values or take a side on an issue. It's just very different from assuming I'm right and you're wrong. And with this self-awareness, we can then openly seek after as much information as possible from different people, places, and ideas. And in this process of openly seeking more knowledge, we'll often become aware of the limitations in our own beliefs. And when this happens, we're empowered to change our beliefs as we see fit. So if we're going to be successful in formulating new ideas, I also think we need to recognize that we're going to have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I mean the willingness to endure the potential pain that comes from uncertainty. Because as we challenge our beliefs, we're going to have to face some level of uncertainty. But we can realize that it's through this process that there's the exciting realization of new possibilities and greater understanding. So I believe that the greatest innovations often come from connecting different ideas and perspectives to form something new and better. And I believe that this process of innovation often begins with the idea, I only have one story, and my story may be incomplete. Thank you very much.